Are you ready to invest in yourself today? Welcome to the WealthBuilders Podcast, where investment leader Billy Epperhart teaches you how to build wealth through applied biblical wisdom. Scripture says in Deuteronomy 8:18, "Remember the Lord, your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." At WealthBuilders, our goal is to teach you how to build wealth through applied biblical wisdom in your finances, your business, and your investments. Now, let's join Billy Epperhart.
I get a lot of questions. In fact, I just came from a Lunch and Learn today. Had a lot of questions that we have, a Lunch and Learn we have here at Karis now, and on questions on the economy and where we are. So I realized that those watching this, we have people all over the world watching this, and so I'll try to address this from a worldwide view, not just the U.S., but I will say right now that in most Western countries, and many other developing countries around the world and some countries in the East, inflation is at an unprecedented time that we have seen. And actually, if you're not aware of this, in over 40 years. And so it's been a long time since we've seen inflation at this level. But I want to talk about why. Because what has happened in the world, all over the world, is that we have been in an environment for the last the last 5 years, going back even to 10 years as I'm talking about this, but let's talk about the last 5 years right now. We have been in an unprecedented time of low interest rates. And so when we talk about low interest rates, then what has happened with that is anytime you have low interest rates, in fact, let me say this, I say this in the USA that we have here in the States, we talk about the fact that we have never had interest rates this low anytime in the history of the United States of America. And for many of the countries in Europe and for many of the countries really in other parts of the world, you've also had unprecedented low interest rates. As a matter of fact, in Europe and in other parts of the world, the interest rates have actually been negative. That means that in order for the bank to take your money, right, for them to have your money instead of paying you, they take money away. That's what it really means. So we've been in negative interest rates. Well, what happens is Billy calls that cheap money. So anytime you have cheap money chasing assets, it makes the price of assets go up because money's so cheap. But then in addition to that, we've just come through COVID. So we've not only had low interest rates, but we have had the greatest money supply. That's a different thing than low interest rates. Money supply is basically the amount of currency that actually is coming into the economy. And our currencies in the last 2 years have been flooded with new money. And so now we've got low interest rates, which have caused asset prices to go up. But we also have this new flood of currency that's coming. So there's more money there. And so what you have is cheap money and you have more money, and you combine that together, what you end up with is you have more cheap money chasing fewer assets. So what happens, you say, what's an asset? Well, an asset is everything from something like gold and silver to real estate, and then, of course, you can have what we call paper assets and stocks and bonds. But any kind of asset, it causes the price of those assets to rise. So real estate around the world has gone up almost in every continent. Real estate has skyrocketed, and in some places, it's actually got to the point where it's dangerous. And from the context of prices, not necessarily supply, but from the context of prices, we're actually in a bubble when it comes to real estate prices. The balance of that when it comes to real estate, and this is true in many parts of the world, is that the new supply of real estate has been diminished because in the last 10 years coming out of the Great Recession, as many homes, etc., have not been built, and that's true around the world. So what am I saying to you? That's the time that we're in. So now the balance to this with this cheap interest rates and this high level of money supply, now across the world, interest rates have beginning, central banks are starting to raise interest rates. That's going to make money then more expensive. And when money starts getting more expensive and the supply of money starts getting diminished, what happens is asset prices are going to be cooled off. They're going to cool off some. However, let me say this. People say, Billy, what should I do right now? Right now, when we're in inflationary times, even with interest rates going up, right, and even with money supply diminishing, you should be looking at in the next 6, 12, 18 months, you should be looking for things, what we call and what's called in the financial industry, hard assets. And you say, what's hard assets? That's everything from commodities. Commodities include precious metals. It includes oil. It includes things like agricultural products. And there are several other things that are included in that. And by the way, I don't include crypto, so we're clear in commodities, even though it buys and sells as a commodity right now. I don't include that because it's not a hard asset. And I think that might be beyond this video. I don't know how long I've been talking. But you're looking for things that have intrinsic value. And what intrinsic value means is something that actually serves a purpose and does good to us. Housing, you can live in it or you can rent it, right? Real estate. Or if you're looking at gold and silver, it's been the factor of value for many years. And so because of that, it's got intrinsic value. But there's many other things that do. Oil and gas, people have to use it to heat their homes or to drive their vehicles. So there's a lot of things that are commodities. So right now in inflationary times, hard assets are a good place to look. Or if you look to paper assets, then what you're looking for is you're looking for assets, like we're talking stocks and bonds. There's other things that go with that, like what we call ETFs or exchange traded funds. You're looking for things that protect you from those paper assets going down. So and by that I mean there are certain funds that actually will protect you, and you need to have a safe mix. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of that, but just to let you know, those are the times that we get in. So I had some questions. Says, where do I put my money right now? Well, first answer to that is right now, the better place is you have to go on the defensive. Right? The stock market's going to slow down. I believe in 12 to 18 months. Remember now, this is hot off the press. 12 to 18 months, we're going to be in a recession. So you don't want your money in proactive, say, growth stocks in general. You want to be careful and be a little more defensive and go into more hard assets and that kind of thing. Or very candidly, if you don't know what to do, it's a better time to really go mostly to cash or more short-term fixed income investments. And so I don't know who all understands that when I'm talking to you, but I hope that helps you. Another thing that I was asked, and I think this is an important one of the things when you think about investing, now I'm moving right now away just from real estate, and I'm moving away from gold and silver, or I'm moving from oil and gas, those kinds of things, moving back over here to paper assets. One of the things that you need to be aware of as alumni is that you really want to look for companies, and there are some companies that are good to invest in right now during these times. But you want to look for companies that are they have more of a biblically responsible approach. Now, I don't mean that necessarily they're a Christian company. What I mean is that they represent, they do not stand against what we believe in as Christians. There's many biblically responsible companies out there and that do not support things that we don't agree with as Christians, meaning they don't directly support those, and many of them that we know don't indirectly. But also, that goes right into, when we talk about being biblically responsible, it goes into what we call pro-values investing. And so with pro-values investing, that means biblically responsible is more like, okay, I don't want to do something that violates the Bible. Pro-values is, I want to invest in something that's really supporting the causes that I stand for. So I've covered a quick gambit here, real quickly, of the environment we're in right now, where it is, and then people always ask me about real estate. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about the housing market across the world. Now, I have many graphs and many charts. I don't have that with me today, but I can give you some places to look, or if you want to go through the alumni portal, I'll actually send you some of those charts if you want them, and we'll get those to you. So I'm going to cover that in the next video, but I've just shared with you in this video where we are. So I hope, meaning in the economy, where we're going to be in the next 12 to 18 months. And so you need to be aware of that so you're wise with what you do with your finances and your money. So, hey, appreciate you watching this video, and I'll be right back here, hopefully quickly, and be able to help you with some other matters in the area of finance and investing.
We hope you learned something of lasting value today from this Wealth Builders podcast. If you'd like any tools, teachings, or resources mentioned in the podcast, you'll find them online at WealthBuilders.org. Wealth Builders exists to teach you how to build wealth through applied biblical wisdom in your finances, your business, and your investments. Wealth Builders is a nonprofit organization. We depend on your donations to keep this podcast running. Please consider donating to us on wealthbuilders.org.